Okay, folks, here we are again with another Gary's Mod ACF tank video. Today we're going to be taking a second look at my M16 60-ton main battle tank. I think one or maybe two videos ago I made a quick preview of this tank when it was still a prototype. It still is a prototype, but in that video I said I was going to redesign the turret since this turret looks kind of crazy. And I've done that now. So let's go ahead and take a look at my M16A2. Okay, this is it. First thing you're going to notice, turret's super low profile and there's no roof over the turret. Why is that? This is what in real life you would call a cleft turret. Cleft is in two pieces. We've got the gun essentially is mounted between two separate sections of the turret. The turret still has a legit turret ring. However, the turret ring's split in half by this separate area where the gun sits, and the gun elevates within this area. So it doesn't have any clipping or anything here, except through the front plate, which is pretty standard. Basically, what a cleft turret allows you is it allows you to have freedom of greater gun depression without hitting the top of your turret. So you can essentially fit a much larger gun in a very low profile turret. It's kind of similar to the idea of an oscillating turret, except obviously the entire turret doesn't move up and down like an oscillating turret. The only tank in real life I can think of off the top of my head that used a turret like this was the American Airborne T92 light tank, which is the light tank that was essentially in competition with the Sheridan to replace the M41 Walker Bulldog. It was not accepted into service, but it had a cleft turret kind of like this. There's some disadvantages to it because the gun isn't really in a location where the loader can easily access. The only way in real life to reload a gun like this is either via an autoloader system or a semi-automatic loading system, where like the gun has to be at a certain elevation to load it. But none of that matters in Gary's mod. So let's just take a quick look at this thing in action so I can show you just how this thing works. Let's go ahead and get inside. So here we are inside. Max gun depression is still 10 degrees. The gun just pops out of the top of the turret here because it's open. And this area in here is completely enclosed, just like it should be. So this isn't cheating. A lot of players would have just put a flat plate here and had this clip down through it into the turret, but I didn't do that. It's actually got an area where the gun is able to elevate to a full 20 degrees, which is pretty damn good for a cleft turret. A lot of cleft turrets, the gun elevation is very limited because in a cleft turret, you can basically fit a gun that's larger than your turret ring if you have an autoloading mechanism, and the gun would overhang the engine compartment, so it wouldn't be able to elevate fully. But since this tank was designed with this gun in mind, that's not an issue here. Once again, this tank's still pretty early prototype, but it loses about 4 tons with this turret design, and it has around the same armor. Side armor is technically better, but overall, since the turret's smaller, we've got less health on these props and things like that. It also carries the same amount of ammo, 18 rounds, as the original tank. However, all of our free space is used. The original turret had 100% of its ammunition stored in the turret. This one, a large portion of our ammunition has to be stored in the turret basket on the other side of the gun with the seat and everything. So it might be weaker in the hull, but it hasn't been tested, so I'm not exactly sure. And then the rest of the ammo is shoved just one round at a time all around the turret. So the original definitely has a possibility of holding more ammunition, but that's kind of irrelevant here. Sorry for these precision alignment things. Other than that, there's not much else to say. I think this turret came out looking pretty cool. And I think that's all I have to say. Just a quick update. Have a good one.